Hello, Barbro.
Hello, Uli.
Welcome again.
Thank you.
And welcome to episode number 3.
That's amazing.
Yes.
In short time.
Yeah, that's right. We missed the process and the pace because of some slight illnesses, which is not a big deal. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm happy that before Christmas we can produce episode number 3.
Yes.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine. I'm enjoying this day with blue sky and sun in the middle of December. I think it's amazing.
And today actually it feels really warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I used to live close to the Alps in Germany, and you noticed the weather was impacted by the Alps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So today actually reminds me of a warm winter day in the Alps with some warm air.
Yeah.
The German word would be Föhn.
Föhn, yeah, I've heard of that.
I wouldn't know the English word for it.
No, not I either.
And we're not prepared since this is without a script.
Yes, it is. And that's deliberately.
I did think about what
Yeah.
we could talk about today. So in advance, I actually asked the TikTok community for some feedback.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, not that we have huge amount of followers or users. We're just about to start. But I just put out a small poll on TikTok, and I asked, when you think about the future, are you happy? Yes or no?
Oh, that's a good question.
Very simple question. Can only be answered with a yes or a no.
Because there are lots of young people there, isn't it?
Yeah, the audience is younger than at least we are.
At least me.
So I thought this might be a good start for this podcast to discuss about happiness in younger adults and to discuss about what they can actually do. I can say from the beginning, since we are still very new and we don't have huge audiences, the participation rate was not very high.
I was not expecting that.
So when the first answer came in, it was a no. I was hoping for some more answers, not to stay on the negative side. But on the other hand, if negative or positive, it's the reality.
It's valuable.
It's valuable.
Yes.
But let's be very honest and frank. This by no means is representative because we only got 2 answers.
Yeah.
And the second one was then a yes. So it's 50-50.
What's science, you know?
Exactly. So a non-representative poll with a 50-50 result is now being taken to ask you, as the first question in this podcast, how do you think would the current society, based from your experience, respond in a more, in a bigger poll? How would the results show up?
What my imagination is.
Yes.
Yes. And I'm also happy that you didn't share your question before, because we decided to be more spontaneous in this. So I believe I said something about it. I believe it's both, as often in society with young people, at least from those I meet. It's a very different society than when I was young, extremely different. So I think also the issues are different, what makes you happy and not. And still we are people, and I believe that everyone needs love, everyone needs attention, and everyone needs safety and all that. So what in today's society can give and not give that? And I don't know about happiness. Happiness is it's a delicate word, I think. Because if we thrive, not thrive, if we are, what's the English word? If we have happiness as a goal, I don't believe we get happy.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would be like on the surface. And what I'm not on myself have decided not to be on social media. And I'm a bit, maybe I'm old-fashioned, I don't know, but I don't like certain parts of that. And I heard really from an interview of some of those who invented these likes. When you also what people like what we are doing and whatever people make their own, and when it becomes too important to have the likes and your whole life is directed to that, I don't understand. I don't think that's the path to get happy.
So earlier you said love and attention are important ingredients to become happy. Happiness should not be a goal because it comes
in my thinking.
In your that's I'm repeating what I'm hearing.
Yeah, okay.
So you shouldn't strive. That was the word I think you were looking for. Yeah. You should strive for happiness because happiness, as far as I understand you, comes as a natural result when you focus on other things.
Yeah.
So love and attention, social media, likes, isn't that love and attention if you post something and you get a like?
It depends what kind of attention. If you get I think there is a danger in getting just attention for the surface.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really know each other. And still the attention in itself becomes so important. I think there is a danger in that for young people. So attention, when I say attention, I mean more contact, I guess, to be seen as a person.
Mm-hmm.
That I think is important to feel happiness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy to feel seen. You might be shy or whatever. But happiness, we are here again with the duality we spoke about. How can we know we are happy if we have not felt unhappy sometimes? That's the life. That's life. So I remember for myself when I really felt happy. And that was after, when I was young, I was about 30, and I finally found being true to myself, really. It took some effort to do that. And then it was in the beginning when I moved to Umeå, and I even wrote a poem about it, that something like, it is like a piece of music from Mozart, when it's warm in your heart. And something like, I was smiling to, it was up north, to to snow mixed rain, and I had a smile on my face. So I was happy because I came from unhappiness.
Mm-hmm.
And I had dealt with it, and I had been true to myself. So that's the happiness that I'm talking about. You don't have to go to, but I just noticed the difference in my heart. But if you look for that and you try to keep the happiness like that, that's also from a song. There is a special kind of, it's a Swedish song, a special kind of noble wine. If you try to hold it too much, it disappears.
Mm-hmm.
because in the holding, in trying to keep it, you get unhappy. So life is a wave. So that's why the question of how to become happy is not that easy to answer for me. And of course you can get happy or getting, if you become a star or people like you, no problem. But if that is the only way, I mean, we have seen many international known stars of different kind, in film, music, whatever. And to begin with, it's just wonderful, and they, you know, and then they get problems because there is the other side. How to do with that fame, be so famous, and so that kind of attention doesn't fill your heart in the long run.
So it doesn't fill your heart with the warmth that you were speaking about earlier?
Yeah.
How do you know as a young person if the heart feels warm or cold? How do you know?
Only through experience, I believe. You need to live life. You can listen to people who have been through things. And I think what is good with this society, I notice and believe there is more openness of sharing between young people. And also that is the good part of social media. They find each other in groups. If they do it in this way, to find a friend, to find someone to share with, then I think it's very good. But people use and misuse whatever invention we make. So the good part is the openness and the taking away the stigma of not being okay. All these diagnoses that is so much running around now, I think it's overdiagnosed, to be honest. And I was very much against it when it came, because I was thinking, well, it was putting that person in a special box, and I didn't like that, because I believe more in the dynamics. But I have heard, and many people, it has been of help, because they didn't feel so alone with having problems, and they could share with others. So for good and for bad, people are also sharing many things, also happiness, more. So that is amazing to me, and it's a quite more open society than when I was young.
I would like to understand what you mean by that. Where do you see the differences in being open today and back in the days?
So, one thing is that we didn't have internet at all. So we were more, what do you say?
Closed groups. Closed
groups, yeah, and we met the people we met daily, and maybe we wrote letters. I mean, it's very different in the communications available. And it could be closed societies, that many things were put under the carpet. And that, as I spoke about the first time, that was one of my reactions of the hiding, which I think put people in difficulties. And also the authoritarian, if you had power, you could do terrible things, and you could you didn't get punished. And if you did not have power, you had to take the blame. Many, and very much for women, but also for children and other parts of society, like in the companies as well. So it was more hidden misuse of power, I think, when I was young. Of course there is misuse of power today too, but much more of it coming up to the surface.
So are you saying that people dare more nowadays to be open because they don't fear any punishment?
They can be punished anyway, but there is much more openness. And with this more open, they can have their support groups. So this is the very big difference.
Yeah. And also in the first part of your answer, you mentioned that today with technology, this is what I understood from you, it's easier to be open.
Yes, also. You have the tools.
Yeah.
So that's the good part of internet.
Yeah. And also very often it's like this domino effect. When somebody starts, somebody else copies, and then it's easier to, if somebody is open and you see that many people are open, why aren't you becoming more open too?
Yes, so it becomes snowball effect.
Yeah. It reminds me of myself a little bit.
Tell me.
Like, why are we doing the podcast now, and why didn't we do it earlier?
Yeah.
I could have done it earlier, but I feel like I can be more open. I feel like I can be more open nowadays, which I probably see from others that they are in front of the camera. So why shouldn't I?
Yeah.
And I always used to be, maybe not always, but I'm more open. I'm a very open person. I invite others to be open too.
Yeah.
But rather in smaller groups or in a one-to-one. So experiencing this is very new for me. But I feel secure, even though I have no clue about the people listening to me being open. But I almost, it doesn't matter because I feel like, why shouldn't I? Everybody else is open too. So I understand your point, and reflecting back to myself.
Yeah, and that makes many things possible. So that's the good side of today's society when speaking about happiness. Then in the same internet, also there are much hate. People young people have troubles. Mobbing on internet as well, and it starts there maybe because both young people and older people forget that they are speaking to a person. It becomes too anonymous.
Yes.
And so that I think is a very terrible part of this.
Yeah. So what would you recommend to people who receive some form of aggression or hate or whatever, in which form ever, either in physical real life or on social media? What do you recommend those people how to handle that situation for themselves? Like not in reaction, but for themselves.
Yeah. I would suggest try not to be alone with it. Try if you have possibilities to talk to someone, do that, because going inwards in that deepens it, makes it worse. If you can speak to someone, then it loosens up a bit, and also. As I joked with you when you said about the likes for us here, I just said spontaneously, well, feedback is about themselves.
Yes.
So the sooner you can learn that, when we are young, we are very vulnerable in this, of course, because we are growing, but still, the intellect is a good friend to at least intellectually understand that this person is talking about him or herself when they are like that. So it's not a valuable feedback.
And a very long time ago, I actually learned about feedback rules in the company I worked with or for. And one of the rules is to listen to the feedback and decide for yourself what parts you actually find relevant, and which parts you take for yourself and which you don't, because you don't find relevant for yourself.
So hopefully the young person can get that support if they talk to someone.
Yes, yeah.
Who understands like you do.
Yeah.
Still, it's tough. It's tough, and most of us, we listen more to negative feedback than to positive.
Why is that?
Most of us, it takes time to learn that you are okay as you are, really, and think that about yourself as well. So then we become vulnerable, because in there we have some self-criticism as well. So then, if you have had 100 people listening to a lecture, and you have 5 people who said, I didn't like that or that, it's very tempting to listen too much to them and not to the 95. Of course we shall listen to both, but the balance is important. Remembering that when we speak to an audience of 100 people, of course they experience it differently, because they are different people.
Yeah.
As well as people listening to us. And they are so welcome to have their own opinion, to me. Because we are when we can be in a free world like that, then I think more of us will be happy.
What popped up in my mind a few moments ago when you said, speak to somebody else when you receive hate or a difficult situation, it reminded me of a few minutes earlier when we were speaking about openness, because if you speak to somebody and share what you experienced, share your feelings, then you are being open.
Yes.
What effect does that have to the other person? Or let me ask differently, who should you speak to? And what effect does it have on the person you speak to when you actually decide to speak to that person? Obviously, normally you go to somebody you trust.
Yeah.
But could you go to somebody else to start building trust with that person?
That's delicate again.
Yeah, maybe it's a little bit dangerous.
I would start with someone. If it's really difficult for myself, I would start with someone I trust.
Yeah.
And hopefully, not everyone has real friends they trust. So that's also a luxury for some people. But then for young people, they maybe can find some adult person, if they don't feel like they have friends that I trust that much. Or they can go to some, that's what we professional are.
Yeah.
You can go to, if you are living in school, there is a school nurse or psychologist or something. So you can look, that is why the professional people are here also. If you don't have enough friends. And sometimes the situation can be like, maybe you share with a friend, but they have their issues. And maybe you feel I cannot give too much because I won't like to be a load for the other, that kind of thing. But I believe if it's possible in a friendship, that builds happiness.
That builds happiness.
Yeah.
Wow. So in a nutshell, if I had to shorten it in a very short sentence, you are saying that reaching out to somebody you trust and sharing your negative experiences with that person openly creates happiness.
Yes. And you know what I have learned throughout the years as well? It might be difficult to share when you are sad or you have been treated not well. It might even be very difficult to share when you are happy and proud of something. Because not everyone can take that. They get envious or they feel, So sometimes that's where you need to be a little careful. Some friends you have are happy with you. Others cannot. They don't have energy for that.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's another side of the coin.
Yes.
About what to share.
Yeah. Talking about the previous point and talking to somebody openly when you have a problem, what is the worst thing that can happen if you approach somebody openly? What is... I guess many viewers might not dare to speak openly.
Yeah.
So they have some fears and anxieties in their mind. So what is the worst thing that could happen?
Maybe we have different... You and I can have our imaginations both, I guess. To me, it would be that I share something that is delicate to me, and the other person don't keep the trust, and they go and gossip with some other. They leaving me with even worse situation. So I can understand that fear. And it is a risk we take. But the risks, it's also a risk not to share. Because we get too inverted.
Yeah. Which makes us unhappy.
Yeah. So either are. Life is, I would say, it's dangerous to live, but it's even more dangerous not to stop living. What would you say about this, taking this risk?
Well, I think that the positive things outweigh the risks by far. You have to invest, you have to risk in your life, otherwise you will never reach any stage that you either want to reach if you set specific goals, or that will make you happy.
Yeah.
So basically that's the point, right?
Yeah.
Sharing makes you happy.
Yeah. And we also said something about that living is always a risk. But the other way, if you're not sharing, you take another kind of risk of being too much into yourself. So we need to have some, how do you say, alertness about who we share with, but there is always a risk.
So basically, if we turn it around, we could say that if you do not share, if you stay inverted, if you stay inside, then that makes you unhappy.
The risk.
What do you mean?
The risk of being unhappy.
Aha, the risk increases, yeah.
Of being unhappy, also going inwards. But some people have also good effects of going into themselves.
Yeah. If we imagine that we are in front of a screen and we share positive vibes and positive feedback to others in comments or like in words, definitely, either in audio or in written words, what kind of effect does that have towards building a connection with others on a positive note?
Mostly, I think that have good effects. But you need to trust what you hear, and so on. But as I think we need more to focus on what we do like and love, instead of what is not. Because we have both, but energy goes in the direction of where we focus. So the whole way of being is changed when you focus on what is positive. It has to be honest, though. If you try to cover something, then you the other part is creeping in beyond. But as a whole, I really believe to focus.
So being open actually obviously implies that you are being honest.
Yes.
Because you could make a fool out of yourself or somebody else if you seem to be open. But if you're being dishonest, then...
And then the good parts is not worth anything.
Yeah.
If you're dishonest. So that's why we came down to trust. We come down to honesty and being true to each other.
Very early in this podcast you said being true to yourself. And now you are mentioning it again in this context. And is that's what I had in mind, that if something goes wrong, if you take the risk and you share with somebody and you are open and something goes wrong, whatever it might be, you might find new solutions how to cope with that situation. And as long as you, I think, if you were open, if you were honest, and if you were true to yourself, then even those worst things could happen. It wouldn't change your world. It would change the outside, but it wouldn't change your inside.
Truly, I believe.
Because again, like the people giving feedback, it tells a lot about themselves.
Yeah.
It would speak not in the favor of the person who actually gossiped and misused the trust you gave him or her.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but we were talking about this in the context of young people, and it takes some years. We have shared, you and I. It takes some years before we really. I mean, you're vulnerable when you're young, because you haven't tested yourself as much as when you are around 50, and I'm around late 70s. We have been through so many situations and learned from that. But that's also why we are speaking now, to talk from our experiences. That is worth it. That's the conclusion.
Absolutely. It definitely is my experience that being open builds a lot of trust and trustful relationships with others.
Yes.
That's my experience in a one-to-one situation. And I have experienced negative things in relation to other people. But it didn't, at some point I was experienced enough to say it doesn't matter so much to me as long as I am true to myself.
Exactly.
And as long as I was true and honest to the other people, then I can't blame myself, and I can actually feel very strong from the inside. And that makes me a lot happier, or very happy actually. So coming to the beginnings, when we were talking about what makes you happy, it is being open, sharing, building connections, you mentioned earlier. Is there something else that you that came across your mind throughout this podcast? when it comes to the question, what makes you happy? What can you share with our audience?
I think it's mutual also. Like if you use you and me as an example, that this you find someone that is trusting you as well as you trusting that person. Then it builds, and again we are back to the heart. As the theme of this podcast, that when you both come from the heart, or several people coming from the heart, being true to themselves and daring to be true to the other, then we build something. And I'm not saying it's easy always, but it's still what functions.
So if in my mind I think about everything you said today, obviously in half an hour or so we can't explore the whole depth of happiness, but what I do feel is that one of very, very important ingredients to be happy is A, not to focus on it too much because it comes more as a result, and B, to create and enable open relationships and being open and sharing. That is a very, very important ingredient to become happy.
Yeah.
Or to remain happy.
Yes.
Thank you so much for today.
Thank you. It was exciting again.
I agree.
We cover different areas. Just, I'm curious. I'm still very curious. And I think that's also an ingredient of being happy.
You are curious about what exactly?
I'm curious about life. And I'm curious about people I meet when we can meet in contact. I'm curious about the other person. I'm curious about what's possible in life. And I feel curious is keeping me alive. Curiosity is keeping me alive.
And I thank you very much for being curious, because that brings me to the wonderful situation of being able to sit here with you. So
you are also a curious person. I have noticed that. Otherwise, you hadn't started this.
I agree. I agree. It feels amazing to produce this podcast with you, to be open in front of the camera and to share and to speak about whatever crosses our mind. And we won't sit together within the next couple of weeks because of Christmas holidays coming up. But we might be in touch digitally and share some of your and my thoughts with a digital mean. So I'm curious about that and how this works, and very much looking forward to it.
You know, when I'm reflecting on this, what we are doing, it's like we are sharing with those who likes to share with us, more on a daily basis, because our relationship started when just walking or whatever, and that is the kind of talks that I like. Daily life, and then it becomes spontaneous and authentic. So that makes me curious.
Okay, this makes me wonder how I can set up this whole podcast tech situation in a more easy way, so we can do it daily. Or actually, if we do it digitally, then we could do it daily, or we could do it as often as we want to, because I will now show you the equipment that I will supply you with to be able to have good quality audio and video digital production of this podcast for the next coming days.
So now I'm a bit curious and also can I handle this?
What I sense watching you now is that your level of curiosity is actually decreasing a little bit, or maybe remaining stable, but definitely your your nervous state of mind is increasing massively.
Yeah, when it comes to tech.
So thank you again, and see you very soon in a digital way.
Yeah. Have a good holiday.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.